Welcome back to today's scenario, and today is going to be a little bit different than what we would usually do. Today it's going to be what if Greece had won World War I with the Great War of the Greeks, which, as you can tell, is going to be really different as we will have more countries join in this scenario on the side of the Greeks, which would probably do a lot of things for this. As at the first we will see the Caucasus Nation join. And after the disruption, sorry about that, we will continue to see other countries join the side of the Greeks. As now we will see another country join, and that will be the Green Indian team and the Red Indian team. Now we'll move over here. We're actually going to see a switch on the alliance, and that's going to be between the Northern Chinese and the Southern Chinese, as this is what happened in the real timeline, so it would most likely happen in this one as well. But we're going to see different things play out as we'll see another country join, or a few countries joining on the alliance. Boom. And it's kind of a straight line now, as we'll also see Bangladesh join on this. But we'll see a tri-star, we'll see another country join the tri-star alliance. Oh crap. Okay. What? Okay, okay, I'm just not gonna worry about it. And we're gonna see uh the East Indian team join. We're also gonna see the Northern Russians, but we're gonna see the trying to think of where I can put another one. We're actually gonna see the English nation join on the side of the Tri-Star Alliance, and we'll see another country join on the Tri-Star Alliance in a few seconds. Just give me a few seconds. Okay, there. As now we're gonna focus on to the war scenario part. If y'all hear stuff in the background, that's my air conditioning. Sorry about that. But now we're gonna focus on the war scenario. As you guys can tell, there are several countries that have joined on the side of the square team and the tri-star team. As now, if we go ahead and zoom out, give me one more second. Okay, there. Yeah, y'all could probably still hear it. Let me just turn my fan back on. Okay, there. As now we'll continue to move on to the war, and I believe the first part of the war happened when the Italians invaded into the mainland of the French, which had turned out right here. If it didn't happen in the real episode, then this is going to be different. Then, so we're going to see the Italians quickly capture three major cities and combine their front line right here, and they will encircle and this major city right here, which I believe is really close to real life Rome. But we're gonna see this country getting, or this city right here, getting really close to encirclement, but not fully. As we'll also see the Italians get invading into the in northern African part of the French areas, which they promised to Iberia that you'll get a bunch of French land, including even in the America region, if you help us invade into France, which is a very huge bargaining chip as they could have went with both ways. They could have went not on their side and it would have probably still turned out the same. Just a few peace treaties are different, but in this scenario, we're gonna have the the Iberians join the this yeah, we're gonna see them join the alliance. Now we move down south to the north or into the South American yeah, as we'll see the Iberians invade into the northern part of the French African territories right here, which quickly look like this as now we'll see the French islands quickly becoming Iberian, as the Iberians are trying to annex these regions of French Africa, which don't go too well as French culture is extremely prevalent here. Boom. So yeah, this is basically what they look like now, and France will finally begin to retaliate, But we'll see a thing happening up here. I believe originally Scotland was a part of the Hexagon Alliance, but in this scenario, we're gonna have them join the Tri-Star or the Hexagon Alliance as well. But instead, we're gonna see Wales and Ireland join this. So now we will begin to see Scotland invade into these regions of England. As in the real scenario in my world, or in this universe, England and Cornwall, they eventually unite, but in this scenario, they will not be uniting. As you can tell, England is kind of losing, which is slowly proving their worth. But that's whenever Wales will begin to invade into Cornwall to stop anything from joining them. So Cornwall will end up just having a major city and probably a little bit more. Okay, there. As we'll see, Wales continue to invade into these regions of uh, England, and England will surrender over to the Scottish, which they do not have any colonies into these other regions of these regions over here. But we will begin to see the Greeks begin to move into multiple territories over here, as they will begin to move through Bosnia, Croatia, or any. Yeah. Let me just take a look. Are they? They are part of the alliance. So as in the real scenario, Hungary will begin to move into the Polish territories right here, which go for really successful, but instead of failing rather quickly, a blitz scenario. Instead, Hungary will be able to hold on to these territories, and they'll begin to invade into these regions of Romania. As we will also see the Crimeans begin to invade into Moldova, Romania. I don't know, as they want their land to be back. As I believe, if y'all have watched the scenario, um, they had rebelled. I'm trying not to forget, but oh well. So we'll see Crimea instantly grab the capital of the Romanians, and due to political instability for the Romanians, they'll fall into anarchy, and it's basically free land. So they just kick them out of the alliance, and it's basically again free land for them. But also we'll see the Greeks gain a little bit of land from them, but not too much, as they still wanted to hand over a bunch of land to the Crimeans. So that'll mostly be it from the eastern region over here. But we'll move on to the Yugoslavian territory. Now they control most of the majority of the Mediterranean, and they control all of the Black Sea now. Now we'll move on to Iran, as Iran will begin to force their coalition to move into these areas of Greece. And it's not the super updated Papu major city map up here, but Iran will quickly begin to move through these territories, and the puppet state of Greece will begin to move into these territories as well. Right up here, and they will gain around this much territory, and now we'll begin to see the Greeks begin to move into these territories as well. I think y'all can see that. If not, this is what we're going to have it look like. Is now we'll see Greece invade into these regions up here, which quickly go well for them until it doesn't, as now Iran is trying to push them back. And we'll see the Red Indian team begin to move into these territories right here. Yeah, Iran is not going to look too well. Boom. And we'll also see the Green Indian team. I believe the Ethiopians are part of the coalition. They are, so we'll begin to see the Green Indian team move into these territories of Ethiopia. As in the real timeline, Ethiopia had invaded into these territories accidentally, quote unquote. But we'll see Green Indian team, or the Southern Indians, quickly take over all of this, and they'll continue through the Djibouti and the Eritrean front up here, which will go well for them. As now we'll begin to see Yemen join on the side of the Greeks. As now they'll begin to invade into these territories of Iran, or Saudi Arabia, I mean. As they'll just go through the more populated areas of Saudi Arabia, and they'll link up with the Greeks. Now the Saudis are slowly beginning to lose all their coast until they have only this little area over here left, which is slowly getting pushed more condensed right up here, as the Yemenis want to completely block them off, to starve them especially. So we'll begin to see the Greeks invade into these regions right here, which will look a little like this, as I don't want to go too far into the desert, but they also want to invade into the Iranian regions over here, which they will successfully begin to do that. I don't know if y'all can see the difference, but I'm gonna just highlight it real quick. Highlight it a little bit more. Okay, there. As we'll begin to see the Iranian territories of the Persian Gulf down here swiftly getting annexed or invaded by the Greeks. As now they're getting really close to their capital, and they'll continue to block them off until the Yemenis will finally split them into two parts, and they'll begin to invade into these areas over here, which goes very successful for them, though they cannot invade into Iran due to militarily being stressed. But we will see the nearing of the capture of their capital city, which the Saudis will surrender over to the Greeks, which means that's one country down, and we'll finally see the surrendering of the Romanians. And we'll also see the surrendering of the Bosnian territories right over there. So that's 3 countries down. Now we're going to begin to see the Green Indians down here begin to invade into the Ethiopian territories to expand their colony down here. Now the green team over here is not part of this, or the other green African team right here is not a part of this, as they see more economic values into these territories, though they would not be able to take this, as the Green Indian team has already militarily taken over this territory, which the Green Indian team will quickly begin to invade into these regions of France, which will go successful for the Green Indian team, as there's not many stationed troops over here. As well for in the Madagascar region, which they'll end up looking like this at the very end. And that's probably going to be all updates into the African territories, or South African territories over here. Now let's move on to Russia, as Russia will begin to invade into these regions down here. But first, they had invaded into the Caucasus Nation, as they see huge economic benefits from connecting up to the Caspian Sea, which will be true. And they've conquered all of this territory away from the Caucasus Nation, and they'll begin to invade into these regions over here, into Crimea, which will split them up into 2 different pieces and capture several major cities. Boy, I hate this. I can't see. Okay. I'm trying to make it more easily seeable. That's better. You know what? Yeah. As we'll see, begin to continue to see the invasion of these regions up here, quickly getting annexed by the Russians. As now they've connected down to the Black Sea, and it's going to continue to look like this until Crimea is just a single island down here, which is slowly becoming true, as now we'll begin to see these regions, this Romanian region, slowly getting I forgot what it was called, re-liberated. And during the re-liberation, they'll slowly get re-liberated over here into these regions from Polish areas, and Russia slowly re-liberating all the way from up here as well, as now we'll begin to see the complete collapse of the Crimean front line, as they are basically failures in this world. As now Poland is slowly re-liberating them down over here, and this is when Poland will begin to kickstart their campaign. Give me 1 second. As I said, they had begun to kickstart their campaign, and we'll begin to see the French re-liberate this area of Bosnia. I don't know, just bear with me. As I said, they're going to slowly begin to re-liberate these territories, and it's actually quite easy to roll through. But we'll see the Polish begin to push back on the Hungarian borders finally, and Yeah, there's always going to be one front for the Greeks that are always going to be losing in. But in this scenario, it will be into the European areas. But we'll continue to see more growth into the Iranian territories, which would look like this, as now they've basically regained all control of their lands. It's just except for a few core territories that are still being controlled by the Iranians. And now they'll slowly begin to move through the mountainous areas of modern day Iran over here. And yeah. Now the Iranians are slowly beginning to lose, as now the Greeks are moving into their own territory up here. As this is what they basically look like now, and yeah, the Greeks have full control over these regions down here, and that becomes apparent as now we'll begin to see their puppet state down here begin to annex territories from where the African territories of northern Africa and the Saharan Africa right here, but they can't move much into the Greeks or into the Polish area down there, as it is heavily fortified. As now French Africa is completely cut off from the French. As now we'll see the Iberians completely cut them off right there, and the Italians cut them off right there. As now we will see the Italians finally grabbed a major city, and they grabbed all the way up till this point. And now they're slowly coming back to their original reign of terror. And now we'll also see the Iberians slowly begin to retake up here what did not used to be theirs, but what used to be part of the red team, if y'all remember. But yeah. As now we will see the Iberians now look like this. As France in this scenario will have to be extremely fumbling in the economic terms, and over here we're not going to see much fighting in the Chinese, or if any fighting all the way over here at all. Just safety measures. Also, the Red Indian team. Yeah, they've gained so much territory it now looks like the red team should not have even been able to do this. No. Why do you always mess up? Trying to thank you. Now we will see the Red Indians control this much, and we'll also see the Greek puppet state begin to look even larger, as now they'll expand all the way down here, which is a very large amount. Yeah, we'll finally see the Iranians surrender after the fall of their own capital down over here, which now looks like this. So now all the Greek troops can now focus on to up here. Yeah, that's gonna look very well. And now we'll also see the Russians begin to slowly fail up here, though they're not protecting much for their ally of Crimea, as they see him as their own loss. As they're basically Austria in World War II. Yeah, not much. And we'll see Finland switching sides as they'll begin to take land from Polish, or they'll begin to take land from Poland. And they'll take over this much down over here. And they'll also begin to move into the Nordic Scandinavian areas up here, which will look like this. So yeah, it's not going to turn out well for the Polish over here, as they'll continue to get invaded from these areas until the Finnish have controlled around this much territory. Yeah, Finland will get an upper hand as it was actually a surprise, and they had not been sending any troops to the front lines over here. Which now begins to look like the front lines over here now. Yeah. As now we'll also see Finnish troops land all the way over here and capture 5 to 6 major cities, maybe even 7 major cities over here, which will look like that. And the Polish will not surrender, though they are getting to very close to collapse. But they'll reorganize their military, and they'll quickly get to recontrol most of these areas up here, which will just leave the finish looking like that. And now focusing on to the southern front line over here, you'll see the Greeks completely control all of that, and we'll see that Italians try to link up with the Greek troops. And now we'll also see the Italians also regain all of their previous lands up here. And if not even more. And now we'll see them looking like this now, and the Italians they fully cut off the French troops up here. Which now looks like this as yeah. We'll also begin to see Greece invade into these regions of oh, that is okay, that's what the French invasion is going to look like. But we'll see core territory of Greece beginning to invade a little bit like that, as we'll see the Italians give up a little bit of their invasion area up here, which will leave the Greeks now looking like this. Yeah, due to the entire front over here, it does not lead to much collapse over here, as the Koreans were supporting the French mostly, but now since the Koreans are not able to link up all the way down here, and they're getting cut off from the Greeks, and over here they're getting cut off from the Green Indian team, and if they had not, then they would be getting cut off by the brown team right here, and up here they would be getting cut off by the Iberians, the Irish, Welsh, and Scottish. So there's not a whole lot you can do for the Koreans unless they went around the entire top of the world, which would not be feasible in this timeline. Yeah. As we'll also see the Russians continue their advancement despite the recent loss of a lot of land up here, which will look like this, as that's where they'll get stalemated at in the eastern region, but over here is a different story, as the Russians will move down here until that point. So, yeah. As we'll also begin to see the Hungarians move through the Polish corridor up here, which would leave the Hungarians... No, that's too large. We'll see the Hungarians begin to look something like this now. They'll regain a little bit of captured territory they used to control or whatever. We'll see the Hungarians control this much, and we'll see the re-advancement into the Romanian territories right there, but that's probably going to be it for the Crimeans, as now they've been fully controlled down here. Yeah, which leads to a lot of territory right here being controlled by the Greeks now, and the rest will be given over to the Hungarians, which now their front line will expand up to this point. As in the real scenario for World War I, they had fallen very, very quickly over to the Polish, as they're like, what is it? They're like the French in real life in World War II. They had surrendered very quickly. Despite them having multiple areas for them to go through, they had surrendered very quickly. And now we'll begin to see the Polish beginning to fumble heavily into these regions up here, which now Finland has completely cut them off by land, even more than they had done beforehand, and they're going to take up this peninsula up here. Still don't remember what it's called, though we'll see the Finnish control this much territory now. And they'll slowly begin to move towards the Asian territories over here, or Russian territories over here. As now we'll begin to see the Finnish mostly control all the way up here until the Russians have pushed into these territories a little, as they have re-liberated them, quote-unquote, though they wanted these territories right there. And now the Finnish will look like this, and the Polish will begin to see multiple rebellions appear. We'll see a rebellion appear down over here, which expands heavily, and we'll see the rebellion actually be pro-Hungarian and pro-Greeks. Now up here we'll begin to see a huge rebellion, and it will expand up to right here. Yeah, we'll also see another one being red right there, and it's kind of an entire loop thing. We'll see a rebellion taking place right here, which controls several islands, including the one closest to the mainland. Boom. And up here, on the other hand, yeah, as now the entire northern part of Poland will begin to fully surrender over to the rebellion groups, which now they'll split off like this, which leads to the surrender of the Polish corridor, which will now have them looking like this, as all of the African territories will become Greece, along with a large portion of this area, despite being almost completely blocked off down right there. Now we'll also see the Iberians slowly growing closer to the French capital and to the Italian front over there, as now they are around that close, and due to the fumble of the French military, boom, which kind of leads them into their own era of, what is it? The bad luck for like the Chinese thing. I don't know, but we will see the full surrender. I'm not gonna color it all in, but we'll see a full surrender, and all the way into the South African territories, it'll just become green Indian, which kind of leads just the Russians, as they'll leave peacefully. So yeah, that concludes of World War One, and I'm sorry for not doing the peace treaty, but I just don't have the time because I'm gonna be live streaming soon, as y'all are gonna be seeing it on the 12th, I believe. No, the 11th of March, and I've already live streamed yesterday, so that's an entire thing. Okay, see y'all later. Bye bye.